ready to go with our fourth place matchup. I wanted to call it the losers semifinals, but it just sounds better when you say the fourth place matchup coming up.
As we said, this is the matchup for the person who doesn't get the money.
Yeah, you're putting it in like a really negative light here, Joe. I need you to get more positive. We've got Aspire and Bullseye going up against one another, and we had a chance to watch more of one of the two teams here. So we'll start these off and just take a look back at Aspire and their roster as far as what we're expecting to see for these guys coming forward. As again, this is a team that will be represented at World Championships, consisting of Robbie B, Turn Up Too Easy, Super, Tish, and Fastball. And again, I immediately get turned to the attention of Robbie B and Fastball, the SMGs, really kind of setting the pace and the tone and the tempo for this Aspire squad.
Yeah, they were actually doing a really good job when we saw them earlier playing against Destroy the Odds. But I was also really impressed with Tish. You know, he was constantly had really good stats. He was constantly building up those streaks and his specialist as well. Like he either had it on the board or he was becoming close to having it, and he constantly had his name in the kill feed. So doing a lot of work as well.
And I just have to turn your attention as well to Turn Up. I mean, I've been saying this, and I will live and die by this statement. This guy's going to be a major name when it comes to Modern Warfare next year. He has been an incredible AR player throughout Black Ops 4, has gotten better and better every single time that we see him. And him with the Tempest is looking absolutely insane as of lately. So definitely a scary element of the team as well. But we'll take a look at their counterparts in Bullseye. Again, a team that, to be completely honest with you, was actually a fill-in. They went through the three-way tie that they had in their pool and didn't make it out technically, but we had a couple of teams that weren't able to finish off due to locals and things of that nature. So Bullseye got the call to be into the playoffs, and they've really made the most out of it. Outside Lightning, Groovy, Optional, and Ambient find themselves through what was a pretty difficult bracket to start, and now here for the fourth place matchup against Aspire. It's going to be a tough road, but one that I think they're definitely capable of giving them a run for their money.
Yeah, I mean, we just saw them win a 5-map game, a 5-map series against Green Eggs and Ham. We were able to catch the last map, which was the Payload Search and Destroy, and they just looked so dominant on it. Of course, there's still other maps and other game types we have to have a look at, and we'll get a closer look at as we head into this series. But just seeing how much control they had over that one game really gives me high hopes for this team, and at least makes me feel a little bit optimistic about what kind of a challenge they could bring up to Aspire.
No, absolutely the case. And again, if we have a chance to look at our maps coming into the set, take a look to see as far as where we're going to be playing. Again, these maps all the way up until the grand finals are actually preset, so there's really no say as far as what the teams are able to go through, just to help us move as fast as possible through the tournament and make sure we're not torching anybody's time. It'll be Gridlock Hardpoint to start. Payload for the Search and Destroy. That'll be a place that Bullseye will be liking to go back after how they played that versus Green Eggs and Ham. Frequency will be our control environment, and then if we go to map 4, map 5, we'll see Hacienda Hardpoint and Frequency for the Search and Destroy for map 5.
Well, that Payload Search and Destroy, as I just said, is what we already saw Bullseye doing. So if they can recreate the success that they had on that, then that could be a really good position for them. And Aspire, when we watched them playing against DTO, Search and Destroy really was the map that they were struggling a little bit more on. They were much better on those respawn maps, things kind of going a little bit backwards and forwards in Hardpoint, but consistently being able to pull it back in their own favor towards the end. And Control, again, a game type that they just, had so much control over. I don't really know how is best to put it. So that Payload Search and Destroy is really going to be something to look out for, to see if that's just particularly something that Bullseye were able to do well, if they managed to take advantage of Aspire and sort of their weaknesses that they've kind of been showing so far. I think that'll be a really interesting one to watch.
Yeah, and if we get a chance to take a look back at our final bracket coming into today, again, we're dealing with our final 6 teams, 2 of which have already gone through, and actually, I think maybe our maps were incorrect, so we'll take a look back at that once we get that figured out. But again, Aspire able to beat DTO in 4 maps, Bullseye able to take care of Green Eggs and Ham in 5, have led us to this 4th place match in the losers semifinal. After this match is over, we'll be jumping straight up into the winners finals, where Vanity and Carnage Gaming will be playing up against each other. And again, 3 of our 4 teams being represented at CWL World Championships. I think this was the outcome that a lot of people would have expected, but the path that each of the teams have taken have definitely led to some interesting conversations, to say the least.
Yeah, and also, it's very easy to be like, well, we expected these teams to get here. But the interesting part is watching how they got here and watching what they do, seeing the action, seeing how they interact with one another. And maybe that gives us a good idea of what to look out for in champs. But we should really be thinking about it from that perspective of they're here first, we get to see what we should be expecting, and then we see them in champs rather than, oh, they're already in champs, so we should expect them to be here. Because that kind of eliminates the excitement of what this tournament is all about. You know what I mean?
Indeed, and we'll go back and take a look at the maps in as a whole here, as again, just a little bit of a mistake on our end. Apologies, but this is the proper set. It'll be Frequency Hardpoint first, and then it'll be Gridlock, Search and Destroy, Seaside for the control, and that's an interesting one. We'll talk about that one in a second. Arsenal Hardpoint if we get to map 4, and Frequency Search and Destroy for the map 5. But Gio, not sure if you caught this one yesterday or not, but Aspire and Carnage played on Seaside control, and there were a couple of decisions that Aspire made that led them to actually not being able to close out the map. And I'm excited to see them kind of going back there and seeing if they fix their mistakes.
I didn't actually catch that game, so you will have to inform me and maybe some of the viewers who didn't manage to catch that game either, because that sounds pretty interesting, given especially how well Aspire were playing on control earlier on. Yeah. I believe it was Gridlock control they were playing earlier. That they were doing so well against DTO.
We'll see what happens here, though. Again, Frequency Hardpoint, a map that I'm expected to see a lot of SMGs in the kill feeds. And honestly, again, we've seen this time and time again, even with Great Eggs and Ham, where Zinky was able to take over certain hills by himself. But then there are other moments where you would come back to this map and not be able to find any success at all. So how do these SMG lines match up? And will we see more AR gameplay coming in the mix at all? I mean, we've seen a lot of teams drop the ICR, just go 2 Maddoxes with 3 songs. We've seen 3 Maddoxes and 2 songs. We'll see what we get this time around, as it will be turned up to easy and fastball of fun in the first flurry of kills. And Aspire will clean things up very easily. Again, all those SMGs coming into play early.
Kind of unsurprising that happened, given that Bullseye only sent 1 player down through the middle, unlike Aspire, who sent most of their team. And Aspire still filling up this kill feed here. This is going to stay well in their control with 16 seconds on the point so far. And still members of Bullseye having to filter down through the middle.
A little bit awkward right there for a small moment. Bullseye not able to find any time, but they do have the proper side of the map to find themselves the second hill. Just comes down to if they're able to win a couple of these fights, they should be able to hold on to those spawns. But as I say that, Aspire will actually be able to flip the spawns due to that last contest that Bullseye were trying to make. The turn up with the ICR will try to back away with his life. Does get taken down, but the trades are there. But more importantly, the scrap time goes to Bullseye. It's Aspire who have the eastern side of the map and are ready for P2.
Yeah, that's going to be definitely a beneficial spot. Already here, ready. That means Bullseye are going to have to start coming through the center of the map. We also see number 4 on the minimap. That's Ambient coming straight through that middle with actually Optional. He's walking around the outside, but members of Bullseye going to be falling as Aspire taking these gunfights. And that's something we've seen of them so far today's shift, that they were able to do so well and clutch out in those vanilla gun versus gun situations.
Indeed they are, and Aspire doing a nice job of holding on to these, again, kind of staggered hit pushes for Bullseye. They're trying desperately to break through this window. They're not finding any success, and with 23 seconds, based on the spawns that Bullseye have, they're going to have these last 2 players contesting just because they have nowhere else to go, and then they'll spawn up for P3 and hope they can find some success for once in this rotation, because Aspire are manhandling Bullseye at the moment.
Wow. Looks like Bullseye are not really gonna bother trying to get anywhere close to the hill, instead preferring to kind of maybe get a little bit closer for the next point. There we go. Getting that initial control, and all of Aspire are going to be filtering in from the northern side of the map, leaving simply Turn Up to be left on the other side, maybe taking his own route, but Aspire getting some crucial kills. Although things may be being turned around a little bit, fastball are going down, and Ambient, he's getting 2, getting another. The crack of the neck is what makes it so satisfying.
Ambient had to make a massive play as well, because Aspire flipped the spawns to the 1v3 opportunity, looking for a fork, needs to reload the weapon. We'll get this Tim shut off, but it's not enough as Fastball and Turnip are able to break on through, but not enough to fully swing the hill back in their favor. So Bullseye with 20 seconds left to play for. See, Robbie is just watching the rotation from the middle, knowing that his team has the spawns from behind, but again, Bullseye are doing such a nice job of being able to hold on to this hill for full time. It's not even being contested, so just like that, 45-90 is the score, as Bullseye are going to get the scrap time and look to rotate early, but Turn Up find 2 lined up on the pipes, and that'll be Aspire winning the early rotation for our 4th hill.
Nice assassination there. It's going to go towards those score streaks, of course, but Aspire weren't bothered about getting the scrap time on that hill, just going straight up for P4 at the top there, and still filling up a lot of these kills. And actually getting so much closer to a lot of their resources. Fastballer getting a good shot in there, and you said that it was going to come down to these SMGs, and that's what we've been seeing a lot in this match so far.
Ambient trying to make his way forward. He will have to throw out the concussion, and again, he's in a situation where he needs to win essentially a 1v3, waiting for his teammates very properly so as he backs up, gets the stim shot off, plus the reload. Attack 5 out for Aspire. Looking to maybe just cement this first rotation as being a lead that might be unsurmountable for Bullseye, as they, again, have only found a little bit of success, and that was only on one hill. Lightning Strike and Hellstorm earned for Super. Full streaks for Aspire as they close out the first rotation right above the 140 mark to just 52 for Bullseye.
Full streaks also sitting on that Tempest as well, and very close to the War Machine too. Meanwhile, Bullseye a little bit further away from a lot of these resources, as said before. In comes the Hellstorm, gets 2. That's a great start for Aspire as they start to move on in and be mowing down the members of Bullseye who start to regress onto this point.
Now Tempest time for a turn up, and you know what he's able to do with that chain? Sending 2 players in the back. Not going to find the kills for it, but the delay in this push is very well appreciated as the rest of his teammates are just watching the inner side of the ring, plus also from that elevator. And now Fastballer wants to get aggressive as, again, you can see Bullseye are just giving up this hill. They're trying to rotate through the middle portion map, knowing that they're not going to be able to contest with Turnup's Tempest. He will find an opportunity for maybe one more connection, not quite able to find it, but will be back into the spawns and ready to possibly contest and punish Bullseye if they peek a little bit too widely. 2 more shots left, but he switches back to the ICR as, again, Aspire are holding onto the back spawns.
Bullseye really kind of put themselves in the firing lane there as they were trying to get those spawns closer to this next point. But obviously members of Aspire, they were already out in the back, and that was just never going to happen for them. So Aspire remaining in the control here, capturing this hard point very early and getting some nice kills off the top as well. Still sitting on a Lightning Strike as well in case they decide to bring that out. But right now they're just getting some nice clean kills out here on the boys in red.
And this is not looking good for Bullseye. They're having a really tough time breaking into hills. Groovy able to find one that gets kind of physic boosted off the map. And, well, again, you have to contest this, right? I mean, there's just not enough time left to play for. It's just going to be Aspire at 230 points. And Bullseye, they actually spawn old, so they're going to have to hit this one more time from Scoliosis. Tish is trying to work his way forward, has to grab some if he wants to use it. And Aspire is still not giving away any control of this second hill. It's going to be 230 to 67 as we go to our third rotation.
Yeah, looking like Scoliosis went down before he was even able to touch the point. And that's put Bullseye in this difficult position where they didn't get any extra time onto their points, but they also were on a pretty bad side of the map. They've actually been able to turn the spawns now, so they're a little bit closer to P3. But are they going to be able to catch up? Here comes the War Machine out from Fastballer, which is going to make it even harder for them.
And again, Bullseye are just throwing stones at battleships right now. Aspire 248. Counter War Machine does come through for Scoliosis to break the hill from the front. And again, this has been the only hill that Bullseye have found much success with. And now the War Machine for Scoliosis is doing some work. 2 more shots left, and he finds a couple more kills. He will be dangerously close to getting fully streaked out. Cluster Nade also being used to zone the back platform. That'll be good enough for a kill, and now 50 off the streaks. I don't want to say it's not over yet, because it probably still is, but at least a little bit of life here from Bullseye. Yeah,
he wasn't really rushing with that War Machine, which is really what let it work out for him, but members of Bullseye going down here in this engagement. There's the grab, only gets 1 onto Groovy, but it's still enough to bring them down and secure Aspire the map.
Pretty convincing, I would say, all the way around outside of only really one hill where Bullseye were able to hold nicely on that third point right inside the window platform area. But again, Aspire was just all their map. Nobody really negative whatsoever. Everyone, I think, actually finished with positive KDs to finish things off, and it just seemed like it was just too much for Bullseye to ever battle back against. You know, you don't want to just point at one thing in specific, but it just seemed like team shooting was just better for Aspire. They're rotating on the map much more properly than Bullseye were, and, well, it leads to a 250 to 89. And next up, Gridlock Search and Destroy. I think this is where the first real question mark is going to arise for both of us here, Gio, because Aspire and their Search and Destroy, you know, again, we hit on this all the time when it comes down to, maybe they're not showing their full strats, but it's still a lot of the results they faced up against in this tournament alone will kind of make you feel a little bit cautious and anxious about their Search and Destroy as a total.
Yeah, it's a massive question mark, a big gray question mark stamped all over this game type, because we don't know where these issues come from, because we've seen in the other game types how much dominance Aspire are able to have, especially when it comes down to just those vanilla gunfights and not even necessarily investing resources, investing streaks in the specialists. So, you'd have thought, and you just commenting there about how good their rotations were in Hardpoint. Well, these are the kind of puzzle pieces you need in order to succeed in Search and Destroy. Obviously, you're not worrying about respawns, but you are worrying about how to best position yourself and how to, be able to maybe turn one life down into a life down for the enemy and things like that. Be able to kind of flank around and get people in the back when they're not expecting it to win out on those lives. These are all things that Aspire we would expect to be good at, and they haven't so far shown it. So you're completely right. This is the map that is gonna potentially change how we feel about this series, or just kind of add in a little bit of flavor, because Bullseye, they looked very strong on the Search and Destroy.
And, the other thing, just to kind of put in perspective too, like, I get the mentality to at least of the majority of the tournament, like, all right, we don't want to show anything on Search and Destroy. If we throw away the map, we'll just win the respawns. It'll be fine. And so far, that's been the case for Aspire. But if they get through Bullseye, that means that 3 of our teams in World Championships will be in our top 3. And there's still a lot of money to be won here. So at a certain point, does that decision of let's hide what we're doing kind of get thrown out the window because you want to win? Like, I think that is absolutely a consideration. And if the passion starts to kind of build between these last 4 teams, maybe we will start to see some actual looks as far as what these 3 World Championship teams in specific are going to be able to offer when it comes to Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday of pools.
Yeah, well, there comes a point in the competition where you have to think, okay, I've been hiding my strategies, but am I going to require them in order to beat out this enemy team? Is this opponent good enough that I have to bring them out? And I've seen this in a number of tournaments that I've watched of various games recently, where there's been a team that has not brought out this secret strategy that, they've supposedly had, and they haven't made it all the way to the end of a tournament, and they just expected themselves to get there without having to use them. So there does sometimes come those points where you do have to bring them out. And of course, they've won the first map. Losing the second map doesn't necessarily cement the fate of the series. So if they do have secret strategies, I'm not necessarily going to expect to see them come out in this particular Search and Destroy. I think if it goes to map 5 and they have to bring it out, then that's potentially where we're more likely to see things like that actually come out.
I was going to say exactly the same thing. Based on how this first respawn went, it definitely feels like Aspire is the better team in the equation. Again, Frequency is one of those maps that you're either good at or you're bad at. Let's be honest. That's kind of the case with the CWL as well. You're either really good at Frequency or you're really not good at Frequency, just based on the dynamic of how much SMGs kind of rule that arena. Yeah. So, maybe that isn't the best representation for Bullseye. Again, they played another really strong SMG team in Green Eggs and Ham in their losers quarterfinals and were able to beat them. It did take them 5 maps to do it. So again, they were able to at least find success in 1 respawn, if not 2. So again, you just don't know. I think is the biggest thing. We're trying to frame this with an elegant frame, but the picture inside is still a little bit unclear and fuzzy. So we'll get more of a look at them as far as how this set goes. And we're about ready to go. So it'll be Search and Destroy for the Gridlock. Expected to see a lot of play in those inner showers, I think, from Aspire, because you don't really have to show anything there. You just run on in and you either kill people or you get killed. So we'll see if that ends up coming into play here in round number 1.
Yeah, I'm going to call this Schrodinger's S&D, because we just don't know which of these teams is actually going to turn out to be better. Oh, well, I guess we do. Schrodinger's S&D didn't actually turn out quite like that. Gotta be opting for that draw.
Just a little bit of a mismatch. Maybe someone didn't load into the lobby properly or sides were incorrect. So we'll just get a little bit of a restart. You come back, talk to us for a little bit. Again, hey, while we're having a second, we could sit here and talk our heads off about this matchup, but let's change the focus a little bit. Again, if you're unfamiliar with Checkmate Gaming and the Scouting Grounds, this is the first iteration that we've done of a more elongated series in League. It did start with 1 tournament and finish off with another. So again, 150 total teams were able to participate in our opening tournament. 128 qualified based on their placements. They were split up into 16 different pools, and the top 2 from the pools made it into these grand final playoffs. Again, double elimination style. This is the first of hopefully many events that we can run like this here at Checkmate Gaming.
Yeah, I mean, it's always great to have things like that where you can represent the tier 2 of Call of Duty, and we can see the best talent that aren't yet in the CWL, but, you know, at some point, maybe, you never know. Like, these are very talented players, and it's great to have them showcased, and it's just great to give them a place where they have these tournaments. They can constantly scrim, they can constantly practice, they don't just have to wait for the events that come around that MLG put on, because that's what we want. This really healthy, growing tier 2 scene where there's an incentive and a reason for people to keep playing and for people to love these tournaments that they get involved with. And I don't know, I've been involved in tier 2 of various different games. I have you, Shift, and I always think tier 2 is just one of the best places to be.
Could not have said it better myself. Here we go, though. Bullseye on the offense. And, or pardon me, they're on the defense. I missed up. I missed it. And Robbie sniping. I was about to say, we very well could see him pull out the Paladin on a map like this, and he brings that up to play for round number 1. Not able to find anything at B, but did get a bit of information. And how about this play from Aspire? 3 players up the middle, looking to try to cut the map into 2. Fast pull up top. ICR of optional is good, and he will be able to get away. The no trade is super important for Bullseye as they now have the numbers.
You know, Robbie essentially taking turn up as his chaperone there to kind of keep people back. And now he's backing out to A. Not actually quite going to touch the point just yet. People going backwards and forwards to Aspire. Actually only have 1 member left right now. Doesn't look like things are going to be very good here for Tish. Going straight down. And, you know, it looked like a 1-point shift that actually they were going to be able to get the explosives down, but just sort of hovered around A without kind of making the commitment. And of course, Bullseye able to take the round.
Yeah, and it's interesting because, you know, you get that information from Robbie and, you know, off the rip over towards B, and instead of going over to the left and hitting A like you mentioned, it's a hit up the middle, which optional properly reads out. So very nicely received for Bullseye. The fact that he's able to get away with his life too is absolutely massive. So a big opening first blood for Bullseye, starting them off with the opening round in turn. So now as we go to A, pretty full stack for both teams. 4-on-4 action, fastball, trying to find the opening first blood. Won't be double challenged, but he's able to find enough healing in the stim shot to be able to turn it aside. As it is a 4v3 as the second kill comes forward for Aspire.
And now Robbie actually looks like he's starting to come down, but as the explosives move up to B, they may have to change their mind to go up, because right now, Bullseye heading towards that point, and they're starting to plant them, and this is where Aspire have got to kind of turn around and head back, and act reactively rather than proactively.
As the bomb does go down, it is numbers for Aspire. Groovy needs to win this 1v1, is able to do it. He backs away, he's got one more in front of him. Robbie B goes down. This is massive, 2v2. Opportunity for Super to potentially find one over the middle. Optional wants to clear out Sushi. Wasn't sure where the post plant position was for Aspire, and now it's just down to Groovy for what would be essentially 4 kills this round. Concussion.
Up against 2 members.
Oh.
Not going to really do all that much. He managed to get 1 kill, but was brought down, and now that leaves Super just able to defuse the target here as the lone member of Aspire.
Wow. He gave himself one heck of an opportunity, though the concussion was beautifully played. And again, not only for the kills, but also to just delay time for someone backing up to defuse the bomb, and he almost able to pull off the 1v2. We'll see Groovy to start off this round, as again, he's just holding down this top window area so nicely. This play, just to come out the window, not go further forward, beautiful. Just good timing, but again, I love the idea of just committing to a different portion of the map. Don't just be one-dimensional, and Groovy almost is able to make the conversion come through.
Yeah, so now 1 versus 1 on both sides. Going to be Aspire starting off on the offense. Again, going for this sort of split push here. Deciding which... waiting for some intel, and then I think they're going to be deciding where to push up.
Again, Robbie did see one player sitting outside the milk truck, and he's really focused in on it. Getting a little bit more aggressive here with the Paladin. Will not think the better of moving over towards the ice cream. Nade does come out in counter-attack fashion. Not able to find anything. And again, the bomb is just lingering over the middle. Optional with the Paladin of his own with the NVIR. He's essentially saying, I see you, Robbie B, and I'm going to take this 1v1 challenge with the sniper.
Again, kind of going straight up the middle. But it looks like they're going to be going down for A. They've got a couple of members of Bullseye that they're going to have to contest with. Are they going to win it out? So far, no one going down. Oh, so I'm sorry, Super ends up going down, but he trades things out, so they're even for lives, and now a couple of more kills for Aspire. The explosives have been planted, optional. Getting some kills. Now just 1 member of Aspire left.
And Robbie's got a sniper rifle and a KN. Bomb's being defused already. All you have to do for Bullseye is just keep sliding back and forth, keep Robbie pinned up. And now, as they have time, they'll leave the bomb for Ambient, who is right about even with Groovy when it comes to charging up towards his specialist. But more importantly, he's the one on the kill streaks right now, so he'll be only 360 off score streaks coming in.
Yeah, that's going to be pretty huge moving into these next rounds. And you're right, just when you're in that situation, there's only so much you can do when you're that one guy left. You're just going to be completely either pushed back on or killed the second you actually tried to defend the explosives, and that round was pretty much guaranteed there for Bullseye. It actually seems that Aspire, they're struggling a little more on the offensive rounds.
You know, and that's where it's interesting, right? Because there's a lot of times where you can sit there and say, okay, maybe they're not pulling things like they're fakes and they're, you know, one person by A, 4 will delay hit B. You know, they're not pulling out those execution calls, but there are a lot of gunfights that are just not turning up in favor of Aspire. And that round specifically, It didn't really happen all that favorable for them into A. So now Bullseye will try to take an advantage as Groovy slides on forward, caught with a cluster as Super Heal fall. And a 2-for-2 trade, 3-on-3 action. Tish looking to make an advantage for Aspire, appear here by the trophies. And well, that'll be Fastball able to come back through for one and a second nice little stripe side-to-side 3v1.
Bullseye really put themselves in a position where they were just so easy to bring down. Ambient being the last, that looks like an uncomfortable position to die in. And they won't be able to take that round, evening things up once again. And yeah, I think one thing that was really interesting about that was the fact they didn't really go for the split push. They kind of left one person to linger behind and feed in at the end. But by that point, so many of his teammates had gone down that there wasn't really all that much he could do. And so it was really just one big brawl that Aspire were able to take advantage of.
So now as we get into round number 5, Score Streak's threat has been eliminated for Bullseye, and really no one really working all that closely for Aspire as of yet. This comes down to, are they going to be able to find any success in their offense, like you very properly phrased up in a couple rounds previous. Looks like it'll be another hit towards A. Only one player here defensively, that's Ambient. He's got to get this information and stay alive, and he absolutely does. Here come those red arrows, very furiously trying to make their way from B and turn up, is able to find the first blood.
You said he's got to stay alive, and that's exactly the opposite of what he did do. So Bullseye all coming in together now, but they're all going to be falling down with just Groovy standing. And half a minute left. He's just
Yikes.
running away.
It comes down to that first blood, right? I mean, just flat out. If Turnip isn't able to get that first blood and Ambient's able to get away, there's an opportunity to maybe set up a pinch or to recontest. But as soon as he falls, Aspire are able to take so much control in that shower and that trophy area, or put it in that towel area. I keep calling it a trophy, I don't know why. And it's just too hard to break from there for Bullseye. They only have one dimension to hit through as the bomb got planted so quickly, and it's just a very difficult round to break back in if you're the defense in that situation.
Yeah, I seriously think that Ambient, if he hadn't have kind of poked out from between those doorways, and maybe things had gone a little bit different, because as you say, it did kind of hinge on whether he was going to be able to, you know, survive until the rest of his team were up with him, and that just didn't happen. It gave Aspire a very good opening, but now they're going to be the ones defending. Looking actually like Bullseye are going to be going down for A once again, with just outside hanging back. He's not coming in the gunshots. And Aspire, they've all just got to get down here first. So the question is whether they can actually get the explosive down. They're going to be able to do it before anything really happens all that much. Oh, looks like he actually got stunned out there, but the trade's showing up. And so now 2-2, very quick round. Looking like so far with only one left on Aspire right now. That's going to be Turn Up. He knows where these opponents are. Yeah.
Able to bait and switch around, looking for one, not quite able to get there. And, you know, if we were to break down that round as a whole, you got Aspire just full-on dive into the back showers, trying to open things up post-plant from Bullseye, but outside makes this incredible play right through the hole in the wall. He finds a very quick shot punch for his second, but this opening kill on Tish keeps that pressure from getting any further. And then here it is, one shot, one punch. Outside able to come up clutch for Bullseye to stop that pressure from Aspire.
And it's actually funny because last time Bullseye all went to the same point, that's where they kind of got decimated. So things have turned around in just the space of a couple of rounds, now sitting at 3-3. This time, it's going to be Aspire's turn to go on the offense. They're going to be splitting up across the map a little bit. And actually, a number of members of Bullseye going down the middle. Groovy's going to get the first blood.
It's a big advantage for Bullseye because they're free to just move forward through the middle portion of the map. Fastball very fortunately able to find one kill in response. Bomb is getting planted. Tish trying to lock things down from the back alley, but he's got so many different angles to worry about. Super should be able to find one at Ice Cream for free. He will. And now it's just down to where else can he find these kills? 2v1 Bomb does not get fully planted as Ambient is able to sneak through the back alley, but he's in a really tough situation. He does have an SMG to play with, but this is a very difficult 1v2, and it's double challenged by Aspire. Free shots are coming through, and Tish is able to slide on in and find the kill.
Yeah, he was just in that position at the end there where you kind of look through a doorway, there's two men looking behind, you sort of blow your load on one of them, aren't able to bring him down for a kill. So even at that point, if he were able to get it, he still would have had to, reload. That's something you have to remember. And he was just in the sort of position where it just looked highly unlikely that things were going to work out for him. But again, gonna be another round. So this time, if the pattern is true, Shift, then this should be Bullseye's turn to win.
Very well could be. We'll see how it goes, though, as again, Aspire will actually 5-man defensive hit towards A and looking to get aggressive as a couple players will actually push right through the tree. And Bullseye, they are making their way up the middle, but as I said, they can be caught out from behind, and it looks like that trade to the back end will favor that of Aspire. But Bomb should be planted, you would think, at B for free. That's 100% the case. And Groovy is set up in the post-plant position by the 18-wheeler, just making sure the flank doesn't come all the way back around towards the opposite side. And it looks like joining him will be Skiliosis. It's a 2v4, but they're in a very good post-plant spot. It just comes down to can Aspire break the back end of Sushi.
Well, it's time to find out. They're just waiting to see. And, at this distance, the Sorg's a little bit of a short-range weapon, so they may have to push up a little bit. But the question is, how do you do that without being seen?
Oh, one opportunity is just a flank, and well, Robbie will find one super. He's able to pinch, and they'll leave the bomb for whoever is closest to Streaks, of which is Super. He's on 3 straight, 9 and 4. This will put him just 275 off Streaks. And how about this? Also very close to a War Machine as Aspire will go up 5-3.
That's going to be massive, because all they obviously have to do is to win this next round, and they will have won out this map. But I think one thing that Aspire actually did really well in this map, in that round, is that when they realized that there wasn't anyone coming down to point A, they just ran straight through rather than kind of hanging around to wait for intel and backing up. So they didn't waste any time.
Yeah. Another hit, though, offensively. Aspire full stacking towards A. It's a full defensive stack as well. Bullseye will technically be in the showers first. Do you have the utility to break this open if you're Aspire? Fastball finds one, gets traded. Super realizes the player in the close corner will cluster him out of that position, but no one's able to follow up with the gunfire as he rotated back away. And just like that, Bullseye pushed through the showers and find themselves to 3v2, but Turnup is able to find double beatdowns, a 2v2 situation, and the pressure is still on.
Well, Robbie's going to be the last one standing now, and they still haven't been able to put down the explosives. So looking like, is he trying to bait them to go up to B? Maybe he's going to turn around, or he's just going to take up these fights. He's just waiting for them to come straight around the corner. Oh, he got both! I was so ready. On the tip of my tongue, I was about to say, he hasn't gotten either of them. And then he went and proved me wrong. I actually got up in my chair.
Yeah, same. I mean, that's the fact that he reads that is incredible.
God.
The discipline to sit there and wait for both players to come through is, whew. That's a pretty intense 1v2, and Robbie's definitely going to be feeling that one. 6-3 the score, though, to wrap things up on the search and destroy after a couple of scary moments for Aspire on their offenses early. Like you were very properly mentioning, Gio, it's a very swift comeback as Aspire are able to take a couple rounds in a row and put that one to bed. So now, can they tuck this one completely out of the question? Seaside Control, and like I was mentioning, their match that they played versus Carnage was littered with small mistakes. Again, small mistakes. And can they clean those things up? And can they come back into it looking more clean and polished? I had a chance to talk to Turnup a little bit after the matches yesterday. He says that don't expect us to throw away a Seaside Control like that ever again. We know what we did wrong, and we're looking to come back looking stronger than ever on it.
I think one of the great things about this round is going to be it's almost the most storied because we have a history on Seaside Control for this team that have been so far doing so well on Control. And now, as you say, they had all these small problems yesterday. They want to come back and fix them all. And this is the round that matters because if they take this round, they'll be moving up into the next round in the bracket, and they will be guaranteed a cash prize. You know, this is the play for 3rd and 4th place at the very least. So the fact that it comes down to this map that is maybe a bit more unsure for this team Aspire, and could be the chance the Bullseye have to, you know, get in the cracks in their armor and actually push things apart and maybe take this into further rounds in this series. I think that's really exciting. I think it's the perfect way to, you know, come on to match point in this game.
The other thing that my mind keeps going to, and I haven't mentioned it yet on stream, but here it is for the first time. You don't want to be the first World Championship team eliminated either. There's that to be considered. And Aspire is the only team so far out of the 3 that we have that would be represented at World Championships that had to make a loser's bracket run, having lost to Carnage earlier on in the winner's bracket. But again, you don't, even if Aspire get past this game, whoever meets them in the losers final, you don't want to be the first championship team eliminated. So the money is definitely a part of the equation, but there are a lot of other moving parts.
There's a lot of pride on the
lot of pride
as well. No, I mean, I think there's just so much kind of lying on this map. It almost seems like, you know, when they're older and they're telling stories to their grandkids, and they're like, I remember the day my life changed. It was that Seaside Control map that I played on the 11th of August back in 2019, back in the past.
I'm sure that'll be the conversation they go to.
And we'll be on like Modern Warfare 50 by that point, and they'll be like, I remember Black Ops 4.
Seems like it's a conversation that I've had with, you know, the first Call of Duty I played was the first Modern Warfare, Call of Duty 4, and that feels like an eternity ago. It was an eternity ago. It was like 12 years ago. It's wild to see how far we've come. But
yeah, we had it on Xbox 360, which was my brother's. I was never an Xbox kid. I always had a PlayStation, so I'd sit and watch him play, and I'd be like, "Oh, I want my I want my Call of Duty, not Black Ops." That wasn't a thing back then.
Well, getting into this one again, Control Seaside, Aspire currently up 2-0. Up next, as far as the stream broadcast will go, we'll be jumping into the winners final. Again, Carnage Gaming going up against Vanity. If we have a chance to pull up that final bracket once again, we started the day with top 6 overall teams. And we've seen both of these teams be able to successfully get through their losers quarterfinals. Aspire being able to do so in 4 maps versus Destroy the Odds. Bullseye getting it done in Game 5 versus Green Eggs and Ham. And like we mentioned, on the top side, you see it, Vanity and Carnage patiently awaiting their start time, which will occur just after this loser semi comes to a conclusion, whether that'll be in this next map or if we'll see the set elongated. That'll be up to whatever happens with Bullseye. And if they're able to bounce back after a pretty one-sided hardpoint loss, but a pretty devastating search and destroy loss as well.
And actually what's kind of funny to think about is that if we have the reverse sweep here, then Aspire could be back facing Carnage Gaming. You say that the team that put them down into the losers bracket in the first place. But right now, it's not looking like that'll happen. But for now, heading off into Seaside. Lovely sunny day. Let's see how it goes.
The bloodbath over towards A, as over the middle, Bullseye are able to find a little bit of success, but not enough to merit really either team finding much pressure over at A. And again, Aspire on the defense first. 1 life lead for Bullseye after that transaction comes through. And the middle of the map is actually relatively open. And Bullseye seem to want to be going for this. But again, if they're not able to break through, it's a lot of time off the board. Outside getting taken down. Tish does take down a teammate, though. So an opportunity to push on through. Ambient, the last player left, does get taken down. And that's 2 pushes in a row for Bullseye that's been completely thwarted before they can break into the church.
Yeah, things being a little easier for Aspire there, given how Bullseye spawns all the way on the other side of the map. That's going to encourage them to actually head up to the B point instead of continually trying to push into A. But straight away, Outside's going to be brought down, followed by a number of his teammates. So this is just continuing on this pattern shift where you were saying how they're just really struggling to make these breaks in. And now look at this life difference, 15 to 21, certainly not a position to be in.
And again, this was actually kind of a throwback. Again, it was Aspire and Carnage that went back and forth with convincing defenses off the first 2 rounds. And then round 3, round 4, and round 5 is where things got really interesting. We'll see if that trend keeps up. Less than 30 seconds to play. A 7-life lead for Aspire and Bullseye. This is essentially one last ride here as they try to make their way back over to Church. And again, they just don't have the time to make this play. You would have loved to have seen them just full commit to getting over to B, but not the case here. And well, now with 13 seconds, 1 more hit's going to come. It's going to be through the barrels, and I don't even know if Bullseye are going to be able to get to A in time.
Tish looks like he's ready to actually flank around and go and stab them in the back. He was gaining some intel, and as you say, no ticks even on the board. They're starting to contest now, but can they live it out? It doesn't look like it.
Yeah.
Time is going down to 0. Bullseye got destroyed.
I get that you want to go for A off the rip. That's fine. And there's nothing wrong with that. And Bullseye make a solid effort for it. But once you lose that first push, to continue to go back to it, you essentially, if you're going to make A your first control point that you want to hit, you have to have not only lives, but time on your hands to play with it because of how far it takes, or how long rather it takes you to get to that travel path to get over to A at all. So the fact that they hit it so late in the round is just kind of a little bit of a questionable decision. We'll see what Aspire end up doing on their first offense. They like to go A off the rip, but this time around it looks like Turnip will be the one player to head over to B with an ICR and everybody else up the middle.
Well, first blood going to be going over to the side of Bullseye. In goes a grenade, but actually certain things, kills going to be coming around on Bullseye's side again. Maybe things going to be turning a little bit more in their favor compared to what we saw last round. But Tish, maybe bring things back around a little bit. Actually, trades coming out here on the point. Still no ticks taken, it looks like, but Super starting to open things up a little bit. Ambient trying to protect. But again, everything's just happening up on this A point right now, or B point, excuse me.
And again, this is this is literally, you know, option 1, option 2. Bullseye to keep hitting A. They don't find much success. Aspire, after they don't get into A successfully the first time, they're able to bounce back, get some progress at B, and even back the lives. That's what you need to be able to do if you're essentially unsuccessful towards your first hit at A. And Aspire are putting on a clinic, showcasing exactly just that. So now as we go 19-19, point at B will be fully capitalized. It'll be about 2 minutes on the clock. Outside will be the one responsible for holding down this white van area. He's got a teammate here in support. That's Skiliosis. It just comes down to how Aspire want to hit. They're being very patient about how they want to come through this coastal area.
Well, Fastballer got taken down really early, which really interrupted the flank they were going for. But Aspire starting to turn things around a little bit, and now their spawns on the entire other side of the map. They've got to be a little bit more patient, as you were saying there. Robbie looking to actually ambush here, not going to get the second kill, but it was certainly a valiant effort there with the spawn camp, especially as his teammates had to find the time to actually start making their way over from their spawn, which was so far away.
And again, they have time to play for lives here, which is essentially what the call is get into the back, try to get a couple of spawn kills. It's not the easiest map to do it on, but they're able to find a little bit of extra life lead. Bullseye battling back in this next defense with a minute 19 to play with. As Tish is able to find one, but that's really the only kill going in the favor of Aspire, is again just bottled up in this church. Our Bullseye, they'll eventually double peek Tish. He's got no chance there. And Bullseye not only hold, but they retake the life lead by 1.
Yeah, now looks like Aspire going to be going in for this sort of pincer as they come in from different sides. But the question is it going to work? They've been struggling so far. No kills, yeah, well, Fastballer's actually going to be getting the first one there. And the lives are going to be, you know, on par with one another. It's certainly a better position to be in than it was before. But they're getting excruciatingly low. Still haven't been able to take this point. And now they're just down to the last 4.
And you got to set this one up properly for Aspire. You just got fully wiped. You're down to a 4v6. You need to be able to challenge these with double peeks and a little bit of bait and switches. You need to find a couple of kills. You need to be able to turn this one back around. The point is a consolation prize, and how about this? Aspire able to find 2 kills, evening things up 4-4. And now a War Machine gets popped open. That's from Fastball. He finds one more. Is that the advantage they need? He's going to be able to get onto A, but you got to find these last couple opponents. They have no idea where Bullseye are, who are just waiting to come back together and hit this one more time. Maybe even waiting for the War Machine channel to fade away because they're not stacking the hill, so they can afford to give away a tick or two before they have to recontest. Ruby finds Robbie being shut down as Fastball of 3v1, just down to Super.
And you could just see after the War Machine was popped, they were all just kind of waiting outside the point until it was over. And Aspire really struggled in that round shift. So that round's going to be going over to Bullseye, and they just seem to have so much more control over their opponents. And kind of there were a couple of moments where I thought that, you know, places where Aspire really failed to get the kills onto Bullseye, all it did was give Bullseye more intel to understand exactly the positioning of the team and be able to use that to their advantage.
The opportunity was there, but not quite able to capitalize. So now we go into round number 3, and this is where we'll definitely start seeing more specialists. The first one being used was that War Machine for Fastball, but plenty more around the corner. Nothing else ready just as of yet, but very shortly after the first engagement, we'll see the fireworks start to pop off. Bullseye, similar hit to what they had in their first offense. Aspire defensively actually hitting the middle, and Groovy, this is the right play. He tries to grapple back over to the mid, and he's able to stay alive, even though he got concussed mid-grapple. And Turnip will be able to take it down before the trade comes in. Just comes down to how the rotations are able to get back over, because there's still a lot of interaction happening over the middle of the map.
And still, so far, it looks kind of similar to Bullseye's last attacking round, where they were just a little bit, not indecisive, but really struggling to break onto a point. Looks like they're going up towards B here, but not going to win out many of those gunfights. The kill feed lighting up in gray. There are a couple of red kills to turn things back around, but still, all of Bullseye going to pretty much be returning from spawn at the same time. Groovy's going to be the first heading on to this B point. But still, no tips there. Constantly being protected here by Aspire.
Yeah, nobody goes outer there for Bullseye in this approach. He had some tools that you could potentially use, but nobody watches the outer patio. So now TAC 5 for Aspire as they smell blood in the water. 4 life lead for them. Super gets a little bit of information as he's playing on the red roofs. A turn up, able to find 2 more with the ICR, just locking down these stairs. They realize that Bullseye have 1 more push coming through, and it essentially has to be over at B. Tempest out for turn up, and here it comes. Speaking of fireworks, how about that turn up for 3? And he actually catches the player, I think, falling off the map. So now turn up, he's totally streaked out, and they're absolutely just putting the nail in the coffin here, trying to zone things out. Turn up only finds himself, but the time off the clock is enough for Aspire to get the round.
Finding yourself still counts as finding a kill shift. That's fine, we'll put it. We'll let that one slide, but they use so much there, getting so much value as well out of particularly the Tempest and the Lightning Strike that were used, because it can be very easy to, you know, use those in the hope that something will happen and maybe get just one person, maybe get none. So the fact that it turned out that way there for Aspire was certainly a fantastic position for them to be in, even in spite of that sort of botched Hellstorm at the end there.
Well, now it's up to Bullseye, obviously being down around, but they've got plenty of specialists that they can use here. It just comes down to, can they build an early enough of a life lead to where they don't have to use too much? Because you need to be able to have something going into round 5. Again, they're still not even close to TAC 5. Ambient having a really rough go of it here. Tish rotating from the middle. He's got a grab slam to use, and I don't know. Groovy, I think he just got baited into that grab slam because Aspire had been full flood in the middle. He was hoping for more, only found 1. Bullseye still do come out on top of this trade, but it is a pretty steep investment to get into the grab slam so early.
Yeah, coming out on top of the trade, but when you look at the streaks that were on the side of Aspire, sorry, we do have the Lightning Strike available for turn up. Tish finding in these stairways, not going to win out that second duel he took on. But still Aspire sitting at a slight lead. Outside, going down. Fastballer just getting meleeed straight in the face here. It's actually very backwards and forwards, and nothing really being taken on the point just yet. We're actually seeing Fastballer move through the center of the map, maybe to get some intel, but with also a flanker and optional on the side of Bullseye as well. Right, they finally managed to get one of the points. They can all move in together, but this is where Aspire really struggled before.
And they've been, I think this has been one of their weakest moments that we've seen throughout the entire tournament, is how do you break things open? Turn up is able to find a Lightning Strike for 2. That's pretty fortunate. That'll open up the point pretty convincingly. Optional has to play King of the Castle, and he's able to find 2. 16 on 20, 4 life lead for Aspire, and they're still contested the point. Groovy tries to get through, but the shots quite aren't there. And now turn up, yeah, Tish able to hit the grab slam just to cement the back door, and just looking good. That's the first tick of progress that A. Looking to be a potential second as players and Bullseye are coming in one by one, all of them into the sight line of Tish, who shuts them both down. Outside though with the Tempest. If you're gonna fight this back, it needs to be right now. He's not quite able to find an angle to contest by himself, at least. Finally, the contest come through, but Aspire with an 8 life lead and already 2 ticks of progress at A.
And Bullseye going to be wanting to use these specialists, and Skilios is going to have to get a few more kills until he's at the war machine. Potentially going to require that if they hope to break into, if they want to defend this next point continuously. Aspire have such a life lead that it may be required.
13 on 2. It's looking to be about curtains, unless Optional could have a round of his life. He gets shut down. Now it's just down to Ambient for the 1v11. He's able to find the first kill, not able to find the second. And that'll do it, Aspire. Okay, not as sturdy of a defense as far as them playing up against Carnage compared to Bullseye, but definitely a couple of moments that looked a lot cleaner for them as they were looking to improve from yesterday to today. Yeah,
they were finally able to, have a decent game, I'd say. It certainly wasn't bad by any means. They did struggle to kind of break onto that second point a couple of times when they were on the offense. But, well, you know, as I say, I didn't watch the the game yesterday that you were referencing, but from what you said, it certainly sounds like there were at least some improvements made.
100% the case. So they will move on into our losers finals. Bullseye will finish in 4th place, just on the outside of the prize pool. And now we go to where I think a lot of people have been waiting for, as we'll be hitting into the winners final next. Vanity going up against Carnage Gaming, 2 teams. Actually, all of our last 3 teams, World Championship qualifying out of CWL Miami. And Carnage has been looking very good so far in this tournament as a whole. Vanity equally as such. We'll see them face off against one another. They're not, at least fortunately, they're not in the same pool. So they don't have to worry about that. But there is still a lot of consideration as far as what they're going to be looking like going into the pool play starting up on Wednesday for World Champs.
Yeah, and obviously we know that one of these 2 teams is guaranteed to make it into the grand finals, which will be casted later on. You and Panda, I will have disappeared by that point. But that is a pretty big stake going into this game. And these are 2 teams that have really impressed throughout this entire bracket. I mean, Carnage Gaming pretty much responsible for so many of these really great teams being dropped down into the losers bracket. They've just kind of caused carnage as they've kind of teared through this competition. So, you know, you're right. It's going to be a massive game, and knowing that one of them is guaranteed to move on into the grand finals, it's pretty huge.
Again, I mentioned it once before. You do not want to be the first World Championships team eliminated. A lot of pride in the line, as well as a little bit of extra financial boost as we go through. We'll be sending these to a break, though. We'll get our winners final set up. Coming up next, it'll be Vanity going up against Carnage Gaming in our winners finals. You're not going to want to miss it.